Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode review. I am GarudaPhoenix.
I'm Radiant.
Today we'll be talking about Dragonshy.
Mm-hmm. Fluttershy
This,
episode.
I have to go on the record here and say that this episode is a personal favorite of a close acquaintance of mine, and thus my review may or may not be biased.
I think it's always going to be biased depending on what we decide.
Yeah, but I have the opinions of another person kind of filtering in through my own. I don't know. We'll see because he loves the episode.
Fair
Well,
enough.
not really, not like fully reflective of that, but some of that stuff kind of does seep in. Okay, so we start with Fluttershy's house. The scene opens with Fluttershy's house, and it turns out it's a giant menagerie, right?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, what does she have here? She's got all sorts of things. Like, I actually couldn't be bothered to track down what she had, but she had a lot of things.
The birds and the rabbits are the ones that were most prevalent.
Oh yeah, definitely. And it seems that she would personally feed all the animals living basically within the proximity of her house. So she gives the otters fish, she even personally feeds the birds worms. I mean, that's dedication if I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
And okay,
I don't think the
and
worms were too happy about that.
yeah, I don't know. It's Fluttershy understands the food chain. I mean,
Mhm.
it's a thing. So we get to see for the first time Angel as a quote unquote character.
Yeah, he's definitely more like a spoiled brat on this episode than he was last time.
Sure. I mean, I can compare him to the fussy child kind of character. He's the fussy child, spoiled brat sort of deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, he's treating Fluttershy really badly, and I kind of feel for her.
It's like you cringe because you're not supposed to treat Fluttershy badly.
Here's the thing: does Equestria have like domestic protections or something? Because this is downright abuse of sorts.
I don't know where she would go to address that her rabbit is abusing her.
Now that you say it, it sounds kind of ridiculous. Um, and
Like, I'm sure
so,
there's some bylaws against abuse in Equestria,
sure.
for like children and spouses and significant others and whatnot. But I mean, even pets, but I don't know what would happen if your pet is the one abusing you.
Yeah, okay. But the one thing that Angel does do is that he kind of keeps Fluttershy on tab, like
Mm-hmm.
because she's like overly concerned about stuff that she would ignore other things, and Angel points out things to her and stuff essentially.
Yeah, he's very observant and he's a very intelligent rabbit. I mean, like in Ticketmaster, he was the one pretty much telling her what to do and how to get the ticket.
So he's the manipulative one.
Yeah, he's very manipulative and he's a very smart rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
But you know.
But what he needs to point to Fluttershy is that there's a giant smoke in the sky. Well, giant cloud of smoke in the sky. Whoops.
Yeah, I don't know what the bylaws for sentience is in Equestria, but I think it's just the ability to speak, and I feel that really needs to be readdressed considering how like aware Angel is. But yeah, there's a smoke
We
cloud.
can discuss the levels of sentience in another podcast because we do have one case from the cows from the Applebuck season.
Mm-hmm.
That's one type of sentience, and then we have Angel right here who seems to have a rather unique personality, if you want to, if I put it that way. So we have the theme, and Fluttershy is trying to run around town and try to alert everyone of the smoke. The
Yeah.
only problem is no one's paying attention to her.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a downside to being the most quiet and shy person in Equestria, or the one we've met, anyhow.
Yeah, I mean, and we're seeing this from her point of view, so I'm assuming that it's like in her mind she's speaking loud enough to be heard, but really she's just kind of mumbling.
Oh yeah, like I think because from the first episode we were watching Twilight interact with Fluttershy from Twilight's point of view, and she got quieter and quieter and quieter and quieter.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a very good point. One particular thing here. This is the first time we see Lyra.
Actually, out in the forefront. She's been there, but she's actually sitting up now.
This is the iconic sitting pose.
Yeah.
This is pretty much what spawned all the Lyra loves humans. Believing in humans, emulating humans, thinks humans are beyond a conspiracy theory. So thus was born anthropology and all that other good stuff. Just because she's sitting down properly.
For a human, yeah. So
I mean, okay, I'm just thinking like this fandom does stretch things, but it's just fun to see the origins of stuff, you know?
Yeah, it's great.
We do actually see a scene of Lyra and Bonbon standing together. So maybe this is where it all started.
Yeah, so I mean, Lyra and Bonbon have both been seen with other ponies, but I think they tend to more often than not be paired off.
Yeah, so
it's always fun.
They won't be a thing until 4 seasons later. Let's just say that officially.
Well, I think once some people like got into some stuff and they were realizing like the fan reactions and they're like, oh, these two are together. The animators were like, well, you know what? Why don't we just put them together in this?
It took 4 seasons
for them to actually like speak up. Yeah.
Yeah. It takes a while.
Yeah.
Okay, so Twilight comes in and basically does Fluttershy's job for her, but
she commands the attention of her room.
Yeah, she does. So, like, going back to last week, like, she basically has, like, the aura of, like, the natural leader. And what she says is that there's a dragon in Equestria, and he's living on top of this mountain, and he's, you know, taking a nap, but he's snoring, and that's what's causing all the smoke.
And I think Pinkie Pie is right. He definitely should see a doctor about that.
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, either he's a chain smoker on the nth degree, or maybe it's a dragon thing. I don't know.
I think it might be that dragons don't normally release smoke when they snore, but it happens from time to time.
Sure.
And it's detrimental to the populace around them.
And so here's the thing. So Twilight is talking about there's this one lone singular dragon. So it's this one that she's talking about. It's basically the one. So now it comes to the interesting discussion about draconic origins, and you know, because she lives with Spike. Spike's a dragon. I mean, I may be bringing in like future episode bias here because we know where Twilight will eventually meet Spike, but as of right now, there are no native dragons living in Equestria. So it brings up the question of where do dragons live? What are basically the geographic reaches of Equestria in this world? And I don't know, there's so much to talk about. It's another can of worms, really. But we won't talk about any of that for now.
So we have our 18 montage.
Yeah, and here's before the 18 montage, we kind of see what the characters' motivations are. So, you know, it's almost like the good cop, bad cop sort of thing. Twilight wants to have the diplomatic discussion.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure that's what Princess Celestia asked of her, so she's doing what she's told.
Yeah, that's pretty much... Twilight's sticking by the letter, but Rainbow Dash wants to go in hooves flying, essentially.
Yeah.
And now we have the montage. I mean, okay, first of all, we get a brief glimpse of Rainbow Dash's house. Whoa. It's so cool.
You think she made that herself?
Okay,
I'm thinking she did.
Probably. I don't know. I've seen and read multiple theories where Rainbow Dash was the daughter of like Star Wonderbolt flyers, and they basically gave her the place or something. I don't know. That's one theory I've heard. Another one is like she basically just made it like shoot.
I think she made it. I think it's like there's like places where she's lazy, but like she started like with just like this really big cloud, and then just like over the time she's like changed it and like fixed some stuff and kind of molded it into what she wanted.
I never took Rainbow Dash to be much of an architect or a civil engineer.
Honestly, I think it's like she wasn't really planning it. She just kind of was like, "Oh, this would be cool here." And so she did it. And then, she was like, "Well, that's enough for today." And then like a couple weeks later, she was like, "Oh, this would look cool here." And it
All right. Okay, sure. We'll discuss cloud houses in another episode.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, this will be fun. She also has like these little pools of like literally like rainbow paint or something, and she dyes like the war paint underneath her eyes. And we go back to Sweet Apple Acres with Applejack's family, and Big Mac is trying to hoist the bag onto her, and we can pretty much assume that it's really heavy. Actually, this may be coming into my discussion a little bit later. Pinkie Pie is just packing balloons, and I don't know what.
Well, they need to be ready for the after we just got rid of a dragon party.
Like, you know what? After Griffin the Brush Off, basically the episode a couple of weeks ago, I'm not going to question Pinkie Pie anymore. She is what she is. She can do whatever she wants. Because I've kind of realized that trying to question her motives is basically detrimental to my mental health. And of course, Rarity, if she's gonna fight a dragon, she might as well do it in the most stylish way possible, right?
Of course.
I mean, I don't know. I just want your thoughts, because in this episode overall, Rarity is pushing the fashion thing a little bit harder than she has in the past few episodes. So, what do you think about that?
Well, I think at some point it's like if they don't give her that, it's like kind of in this episode especially, it's kind of like, why is she here?
Yeah.
So,
I don't know. I have issues with Rarity coming up when what she does later. I'm just saying. Let's see. And then Twilight basically has them all line up in a formation of sorts. So basically they're all in line, and she's basically just giving them the briefing on what to be expected.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, so we need to go to the mountain. And she pulls up a map.
Which is a terrible map, by the way.
Oh yeah, it's pretty crude by cartographer standards.
No wonder Twilight is having such trouble reading it.
Oh, wait, before we move on to what happens, Fluttershy's in an American football outfit.
Oh yeah.
He's in like yeah. I mean, why would she own it, first of all?
I'm sure she's had like it for years for panic attacks and whatnot.
Okay, so does that validate the existence of the sport in this world?
Hoofball?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure it exists.
Sure. I mean, yeah.
I hate to sound kind of racist, but it feels like an Earth Pony thing.
Oh, yeah.
I could see it.
It could be a thing. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely.
Yeah, so there's that. Anyway.
Yep. Let's see. And then Fluttershy is basically concerned about going on the whole adventure from the very beginning.
Yeah.
And, Twilight's barely paying any attention. It's like, okay, yep, yeah. It's like the functional noise you have to make when you're trying to acknowledge a person while you're busy doing something else. Yep, yeah,
Well, I think Twilight, after having spent some time growing up with Spike, trying to always talk to her while she's reading, and, Pinkie Pie does it too, I think what she does is she focuses on one task, and she's kind of doesn't really pay attention to anything after that.
Absolutely.
It's like, it doesn't distract me. I'm just gonna kind of acknowledge that you're saying something, but I'm really not paying attention at all.
I think we've seen her do this before when Pinkie Pie went at the beginning of the Gilda episode.
Yeah.
She was doing the exact same thing to Pinkie.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think if she can block out Pinkie, who's much louder and more excitable, I think she probably does it to Fluttershy too.
Yeah. And Spike is basically tasked with taking care of Fluttershy's animals, and oh my gosh, Rainbow Dash has some concerns about Fluttershy joining the party, and maybe because they've known each other for a while, and
I mean, they're legit concerns.
Yeah, there are, but being afraid of her own shadow, that's basically like the wimpiest of wimpy fears, really. I don't know.
It depends on where you are, but yeah, in broad daylight, that's an issue.
Yeah, that is pretty much an issue. But Fluttershy doesn't even have a choice in the matter. She's basically dragged along with the crowd. And so they get to the mountain and they start climbing up. Okay, here we go.
You're having fun?
No. This is where, when I was watching the episode, I was like, hold on. How steep is this mountain?
It looks pretty darn steep.
And because my curiosity was not stated...
Oh, did you do trigonometry?
I took a protractor.
Oh, God.
I am not ashamed of this. I took a protractor, measured the angle of the mountain, and it is 63 degrees.
Okay, that's a little problematic.
And I'm trying to do some trig here where, in order for... Because we don't actually know what the mass of a pony is, we can actually cancel that out, which would mean that roughly... Do we consider gravity in Equestria roughly the same here in the human world?
I'm going to say, for the purpose of our calculations, yes.
Okay, sure. And let's see...
Like, I can imagine it being a little less considering how easily ponies can jump, but who knows?
Yeah, basically, it's just a lot of physics. I'm like, because they're standing upright, facing upward on an angle of 63 degrees. So either A, the traction between their hooves and the mountain must be insane. So they must have been walking on glue, or... And I mean, even Pinkie has a free hoof to gesture with. So she's standing on 3 hooves, and oh my gosh, this is... I don't know, this is kinda... Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't know. We may have to debate
I'm going to chalk
physics.
it all down to cartoon physics and leave my brain alone.
And here's the thing, like, when I was talking about Pinkie gesturing and all that, Rarity is literally plotting to steal from this dragon.
Yeah.
What? I mean,
I think
remind me what her element is?
I think it was generosity, but at the same time, I think she wasn't intending on stealing it at first. I think she was going to ask nicely.
I think that was her first course of action. Making fun of it. Pinkie Pie's like, Rarity, would you like that diamond? I'm like, whoa. Pinkie Pie's throwing that shade early. But honestly, I think what Rarity's justifying in the way is like, well, I'm the element of generosity. I'm going to help myself to this.
I'm going to be generous to myself.
Pile of gems. Yeah. I don't know. This may have some out of character concerns, but
honestly, I try not to focus too much on them representing their element of generosity, harmony.
Oh, yeah, right.
Because like there are times where they just don't, and yet it's still in the character that they've presented. Yes, this is in character. I think more the elements of harmony are more based on pretty much when everything is said and done, this is what matters.
Yeah, okay.
Not like in your basic everyday go about.
Mm-hmm. So, and here comes the one thing. So, out of everybody, no one knows what dragons are like. And I think even Twilight knows that her anecdotal experiences with Spike don't really count.
No.
Yes. I mean, Spike is, in all senses of the word, basically a pony in a baby dragon's body, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
But they're going to be dealing with like a big adult dragon with, adult instincts and whatever. So
That was raised by dragons.
yeah. And so no one actually knows what dragons are like. So like I brought up earlier, so they're not native to this land. Either they haven't seen one in basically forever, they didn't take notes, or
They're probably rare. I mean, comparatively so.
I
think they're like really spread out most of the time.
Sure. I was about to bring in some future episode bias.
No, I think for the Great Dragon Migration, they all come together. It's like a family reunion.
Uh-huh.
But most of the time they're not, so.
Yep. So, I mean, Fluttershy is even scared to the point where her fear can shut off her... Are wings...
Ability to fly?
Yeah, ability to fly. Okay, so do we count this as a voluntary muscle action or involuntary muscle action?
I think it's involuntary. I think she's legitimately trying to move her wings, but it's just like the fear is like, no, can't do it.
No, because I think fear can shut off voluntary motor functions, but we see like flying can be as simple as you're just flapping your wings, and I don't know, it's almost like breathing of sorts, where if when you're flying, you don't really think about flying unless if you're going to be doing like finesse moves or something.
I think there's a slight unconsciousness about it, but I think it's more muscle memory, in which when you're running, like dribbling a basketball, you're not really thinking about dribbling the basketball until you get to a point where you're like not running anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It's like there's things you just do automatically.
Yeah, okay.
After
I think
you've done it for so long.
Yeah, I think that's the better comparison. It's basic. Yeah, I subscribe to the muscle memory school of thought. So Applejack basically has to drag Fluttershy the long way around.
Yay for Applejack.
Yep. I mean, good for her. I mean, yay. And we can see Rarity is horrible at tic-tac-toe.
Yeah, I don't... Like, most tic-tac-toe games end in a tie, but she was losing a lot of games.
Yeah, I don't know. I think we cannot count on Rarity to be a masterful tactician of sorts.
Well, I think there came a point where she just stopped paying attention and she was just like, X. I really don't care, X.
She was paid to the amount of matches she was going to play. Gosh. And so the group finally reconvenes, and they have to cross this ravine. Basically, it's almost like a gap between two mountains, really.
Yeah.
And everyone makes it through pretty easily, except for Fluttershy, who's now scared of heights. I mean, it's a rational fear, but...
Well, I think she's always been a little bit afraid of heights. I mean, it's the reason why, like, the steepness of the mountain and flying up to where her friends were was freaking her out. So, this is nothing new.
So it's basically just fear piled on top of new fear, piled on top of new fear, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay. And, Pinkie Pie is trying to do her best, and she sings a little song, hop, skip, and a jump. I mean, it's literally a 30-second song, but... And
it's always nice.
Yeah. She's basically the bard of the group.
Yep.
So...
Though, like, the bard with, like, insane magical ability. Like, she's really useful, I mean...
And
she got high rolls.
The gap is literally, like, a few inches wide, according to, like, the actual... thing, right? When Fluttershy actually attempts to go across, it's
about a pony wide.
Like, not even a pony wide. Fluttershy couldn't have fallen through even if she tried. Like, if you look at the gap itself. Unless
Yeah.
if she, like, tried to squeeze through the gap, I don't think she would want to.
I think it was pretty much the same as a stride. It was
Yeah,
like she couldn't just like make a step and she was there. She had to take a longer step, but
yeah. And here's the thing, like you were mentioning about we're seeing this episode through Fluttershy's eyes, and this little ravine bit was basically that. Everything we've seen is basically like, oh, they're making huge jumps, like long jumps champions. And even when Fluttershy's in the middle of making her attempt, it looks like she's jumping quite a distance, and then when the reality hits her, like
yeah.
the actual thing just changes. Like, oh, it's only like a couple of feet wide. And we come to a ravine area where they play the avalanche trope.
Yeah.
I don't know, is this scientifically possible?
Yeah.
I mean, of course, loud noise, but someone's screaming.
I don't know vibrations. It depends on how unsteady the location is. I think it would be more like they'd get like a mudslide or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wouldn't be like gigantic rocks plummeting down upon them.
Yeah, because I think if people want to set off, I think was it park rangers of some sort, when they have to set off an avalanche like intentionally so that the danger basically kind of like removes itself, they use like low velocity explosives because it basically just packs a punch and just punches the snow or the dirt or whatever down. Like, I don't know if a scream can do that, let alone from Fluttershy.
I don't know, high pitched, who knows?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the frequency at which she screamed, vibrated just about right with the resonant frequency of the rocks. And future discussion.
We're trying science again.
Yes, we are trying way too much science here. Like I said, Rarity's kind of pushing the fashion thing a little too hard. I mean, they just survived an avalanche. It's like, oh, I need a new scarf.
Yeah, it's like, I almost died. I need my comfort blanket.
Like, lady, you nearly died. I mean, be a little...
Like, you and your friends are nearly dead.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah. So, they basically try to... And here, again, they're walking across, like, a pile of things, right? The pile of rocks that block their way.
Yeah.
I measured the angle of these rocks as well.
Oh, Lord.
It's 39 degrees, and they apparently they seem to have more trouble climbing over this than the cliffside earlier.
I think the cliffside was more like stone, and then this is just a bunch of like loosely packed dirt.
Yeah, I was thinking because it looked like sand and dirt essentially, so there's less of a coefficient of friction there.
Yeah.
And once again, Rainbow Dash brings up the, oh my gosh, can you, like, was it even a good idea to bring Fluttershy along? I mean, this is a legitimate discussion. Would everybody have been okay if they didn't bring Fluttershy along?
I'm thinking at the end of the day, they really actually needed Fluttershy.
Yeah, I think
so.
That's the kicker, isn't it? It's like, because she's the one who basically has the heroic moment at the end. So you can't get rid of her. Like, no, like you can't do that. Like she's vital to the actual survival of the group.
Though, to Rainbow Dash's credit, when she is complaining about whether or not to let Fluttershy come, she's doing it to Twilight and not telling Fluttershy to go home. She's
not being a jerk to Fluttershy's face. It's like, she's kind of thinking a bit from like a strategic kind of view. She's like, do we need an extra party member? Because she might slow us down. She
might hurt herself. She might hurt others.
Yeah. I mean, in all honesty, Fluttershy wouldn't. She'd be too scared to hurt anyone, in all honesty.
Yeah, like, Rainbow Dash's complaints are very legitimate here.
Yeah, they're very actually...
They do sound very jerky because, Rainbow Dash doesn't have a filter.
Yeah.
But
If it were anybody else,
concerns.
if it were anybody else who brought up this argument in less of a, because how Rainbow Dash is putting it is like, it's like the I don't like this person. Like I don't think that's what she meant. It's more like, what is the strategic value Fluttershy brings to this mission? Essentially, that's what Rainbow Dash is questioning.
It's like if Applejack had said this stuff, then, you know, in her own Applejack way, we'd be like, yeah, like totally Applejack is in the right here.
Yeah.
But
I think the way that Rainbow Dash delivers it is kind of it's almost a little jerky.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I get that. That's just how she does it. She's brutally honest.
Okay, yeah. And so they do arrive at the lair. It's just giant. I don't know. How tall do you think this is? Like 100 feet tall?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, so it's huge. Like, this cavern entrance is pretty gigantic. And so they basically formulate their plan to confront this dragon. And
which I like. It's like, if the dragon decides to get violent, we'll throw apples at it.
yeah, I was like,
and I'm just like, Twilight, you are a magical prodigy.
You dealt with an Ursa Minor. Like, you can do things. You're not just a leader who's just a leader and has no discernible skills whatsoever. You should be like the party carry here, you know? Do the bulk of the work. Like, I don't know, man. I mean, okay, so Pinkie Pie's gonna be the distraction.
Along with Rarity, just in case things get a little hairy.
Yeah. And Applejack, you're just gonna kick apples at it? I mean, unless if you're going to kick apples at it with a kinetic, with the velocity of, how much does an apple weigh? Like a poundish?
I don't think it even weighs a pound. I'd give it maybe a half a pound.
Half a pound? Okay, so, because she's kicking it, right? She's kicking the apples. So she must kick it with a force not enough to smash the apples outright on her back hooves, but hard enough so that it smashes against anything it lands on. Do we have a force inconsistency here?
I'm thinking we do.
Because if Applejack is throwing the apples, there's be no problem. Because it's just an applied force. But this is like a direct contact force we're dealing with. So the apple would have to be subject to the amount of energy that Applejack hoof supplies to it, and it might have just smashed it outright. I don't know.
Earth Pony magic.
I don't know. Fine. Okay, we'll go with that. And Fluttershy says some things here. I wrote in my notes here, racist against dragons?
Not particularly. I mean,
in fact,
I think she's afraid of them. I don't think she has anything outright against them.
I mean, it's like, you could almost apply the same sort of argument to any other. It's like, well, she's not a griffin, and, you know, I mean, Fluttershy's fears are legitimately founded, but then it's like, you're dealing with another, perhaps sentient species, but really, what are her fears founded upon?
I don't know, probably bedtime stories.
Yeah, I mean, I almost want to add the hashtag not all dragons. I mean, even who brought it up? She said Spike is a dragon. You're not afraid of him. And it's like, well, I'm scared of the big ones, the ones with the pointy teeth, the one that breathe fire, etc., etc., etc. It's like, oh my gosh. So, I don't know.
It's like, I'm not afraid of a little baby wolf, but I would have some serious issues against facing off of a fully grown one in the wild.
Okay, yeah. That probably would make the most sense here.
I think we're dealing with a baby principle in which it's like, I'd be perfectly fine petting like a baby animal, but once it grows up, that might be an entirely different story.
Yeah, I don't know, because Fluttershy is passing it off as, like, her argument is, oh, well, it's because he's a dragon. I don't know, it felt kind of straw-man-y. It's like, the argument is because of the person. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe
And
she saw something or,
experience something,
yeah,
perhaps. Yeah, I don't know.
some old traumas.
Yeah, and so it's like Twilight basically finally faces the music and says like, "Well, why didn't you tell us you were afraid?" And Fletcher's like, "Well, I was afraid to tell you." I'm like, oh my god, it's adorable yet annoying.
Well, I mean, there are people like that, and there are times like that where it's like, if this was going to be uncomfortable for you, we should have been able to address this earlier.
Yeah, I
And
don't
not,
know. Literally at the last moment.
yeah.
Only to find out that you're not going to be contributing much to our operation here. It's like, oh gosh. It's like the group project when you realize that the person who hasn't been contributing much, they realize that they literally have no skills to contribute to the project. Ugh, that's the worst.
No, it's determining that, the person who hasn't really given much is like the preparation of your oral presentation, and then they can't speak in front of a crowd.
Yeah, I
It's
think.
like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of were relying on you to speak in front of a crowd, because now none of us are ready for that.
Oh man, I've definitely had shares of that in the past. So Twilight's like, well, let's just move on, and she walks right into the cave, and
With her friends bravely cowering behind the wall.
Bravely cowering. That's a good way to describe it. And she does do the whole, let's try to diplomatically reason with this dragon. And this dragon, like, wow, I'm thinking back to Smog here. This is like an animated Smog level of treasure and the size and the look and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, props to the animators. I mean,
Well,
it's a good design.
I'm pretty sure Smog came out later, so. Or.
I don't know. I think basically they just made like a generic dragon, but I'm like, wow, it looks pretty good for a generic dragon.
Yeah.
And she's trying to reason with him, and it, let's say, just doesn't go well.
He just kind of like blows her off.
Yeah, with that dank morning breath too.
Oh yeah.
And so let's bring in the others.
Yep.
And here's again why I say, Rarity, are you even actually invested in the whole thing, or do you just want to collect the little few shiny things for yourself?
I think there's a mix of both, but her attention right now is like, it's on the jewels.
Yeah. Even Rainbow Dash calls her out. It's like, man, I was so close to getting that gem. I mean, talking the dragon out of his cave.
No, that was Twilight who called her out on that one.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah. She gets called out. Yeah. Pinky does Pinky things.
Whatever Pinkie Pie does.
Like, what is she wearing? She's wearing like a birthday present suit with
Flippers.
Flippers and balloons and all that weird things, and it goes well for roughly 1.5 seconds.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give her credit for trying, but thanks, Pinky. Try again later.
I don't know what her ultimate goal was for that, but she didn't accomplish it.
Yeah, and Rainbow Dash has practically had enough, and it's like, you know what? I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna kick it in the face.
It's like, I could have been here like several hours ago if you had just let me fly ahead, but I had to like just kind of hover while you guys walked here. And then, like Fluttershy was causing issues, everybody was causing issues. I am done with today. I want to kick something.
Yeah, I think, she's pretty much taken out her frustration on the dragon, and, he's not very happy, and thus decides to come outside and attack everyone else.
Yeah, that's why you don't kick a dragon.
It's like...
They go after your party.
Yeah. It's like, don't aggro the big monster. It's going to attack everyone and, be a, total party wipe.
Yeah.
And Fluttershy has actually been hanging around behind this little rock outcropping when...
Well, she's afraid to go back by herself.
Oh yeah, but I thought she actually did leave.
No, she just went a little further back.
Oh, so she's basically like, I'm gonna hang around here because I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
But
be
it's
at
like
the furthest point possible, essentially.
mm-hmm.
And here's the thing. We like normal conditioning makes us believe, well, I think just dragons breathe fire, right?
Yeah.
This one breathes smoke. I mean, there's a saying where there's smoke, there's fire, but
Mm-hmm.
where this is a smoke breathing dragon, a dragon of smoke.
I think he can produce smoke and fire. I think it's just that he's not actually intending on causing carnage. He's just
I don't know. This dragon would actually seem to be the one. I mean, he has had intruders on his property, and one of those intruders caused
kicked
him
him.
kicked him. And it's like, well, you can retaliate. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a normal justification for retaliation. I mean, like in all honesty, I was expecting fire to come out of his mouth, but I think just because the show's rated G, so we can't have our main characters be roasted to bits, right?
Mm-hmm.
So smoke it
Also,
is.
maybe he doesn't like throwing fire. Maybe he doesn't like the feeling of it.
We may have to come back to this at another time, but it's that bad enough where Fluttershy becomes what?
She's really upset.
Yeah, like whoa. You know, it's like, have you ever seen like the meek person, and when you've triggered their anger,
Mm-hmm.
it's not pretty.
It's like when you've pretty much insulted their passion and they're like, no.
You
No.
can't do this. Man, this whole speech is so epic. It's so cool. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, you do not hurt my friends.
They even play like the hero music over it.
Oh, really? It's so good. It's so good. It's so good. Like, I mean, here's a lesson, kids. Don't pick on the quiet person, because when they go off, they go off.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, everyone's in awe of this. Even the dragon's like, I
don't have to deal with this.
And he's cowering in fear of this Valkyrie of smiting words. Like, shoot.
She rolled really, really high.
She crit on her persuasion. And let's just say that she crit on her persuasion.
Yeah.
And holy crap, he talks. The dragon talks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Spike can talk, so I guess it's not that.
Yeah. And
much of a leap.
He tries to explain himself, and Fluttershy's like, "Don't you? But I mean, Mister." I can almost feel the finger snapping going on in her head, behind her back, or something. I don't know. I was like, "Oh, Fluttershy, you are awesome right now."
No, it's like having flashbacks to being 5 and being told off by your parents.
Yeah. It's like, "Don't you? But I mean, yeah."
It's like, but she kicked me.
It's like, nah.
It's like, I'm sure she's sorry about that, but you're bigger
than her. I think this is exactly that's the argument that Fluttershy basically presents. Like, you know what? You're better than Rainbow Dash.
Well, bigger and should know better.
Yeah, you're bigger than she is, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
And let's just get you on out here, because your snoring's causing problems. You know, just find another place to settle and everything, and we'll be fine and dandy.
Mm-hmm.
And everyone's like, "Wow, that's so cool!"
Yeah,
I'm impressed. And wait, quick question here: the dragon flies off.
Yeah,
he left his loot there.
I'm sure he just carried it all in his wing. Like, there's he has a little pouch, like a kangaroo.
Okay, because I was thinking he had a lot of loot. Like, he was sleeping on his loot.
I think he figured something out. I don't know.
He arranged for his stuff to be transported to his
maybe he did a spike in which he blew fire on it, and it teleported somewhere else.
He pulled a spike. Okay, yeah. We'll attribute that to I don't know, just dragon things we don't know.
All right.
I don't know. It's just that I feel like this whole way that they resolved the conflict was rather sudden, but it was cool. But it was like you had your super cool moment that almost came out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and once again, letter to Celestia, and it teaches us a very valuable lesson that people who don't seem to be that who contribute much to anything doesn't mean that they're less of a friend than other people, essentially.
Yeah.
It's a good lesson, and something that I may have had to learn a couple of times. But it's a good one, and it turns out that Rainbow Dash is scared of dragons as well.
I think it's more of a quick idea of she just finished coming back from almost being killed by a dragon. Give her a couple of days and she'll be fine. But
she's scared of Pinkie Pie making dragon noises.
But, yeah, Pinkie Pie's being mean.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't you consider that like a prankish thing? So we're having callbacks? It's a prank. It's like you basically like scare your friend and they like, you got me that time. So shall we just go to the rating?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so overall, how many dragons do you rate this episode?
I don't want a lot in my house. But anyway, I would say 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Wow, okay.
That's pretty good.
Pretty good? Explain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, it was good character development for Fluttershy, and it wasn't, like, there wasn't anything that really annoyed me about it. Mm-hmm. It was like, I do like the end of it when Fluttershy comes up and kind of makes her stand. And it's really good. I don't see any real problems with it, so.
Yeah, okay. So, for my final piece to say about this was basically our first time introduced to Fluttershy as this is a character-centric episode. Mm-hmm. We get to see her kind of break of her timid shell, even just momentarily.
Just kind of pull back the curtains a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's pretty much going to be a consistent thing throughout Fluttershy episodes in the future. We just basically see little things that she can stand up for herself or friends and stuff, but overall, Fluttershy in this is basically a two-note character. She's a scaredy cat one moment and not when the time calls for it, essentially. She's essentially a two-note character, and the comparison may get tiring, but I'm going to go back to Pinkie and Griffin the Brush Off. Pinkie was the most multifaceted character in that episode, and the way she was written really impressed me, and Fluttershy here didn't.
Oh yeah, Pinkie Pie in that episode was written better than Fluttershy in this episode.
Yeah, and I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just my expectation, but if I can see Pinkie Pie of all people, being written in that way, I don't see why the others couldn't be written like in the same quality. I'm just saying.
I don't know. The problem I think the writers have is that her name is Fluttershy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they're kind of tied to that. They work it out, and so it's a lot better in later episodes. But I think it's good here because she knows that she's walking to one of her greatest fears. And she's so terrified to tell her friends that she can't do this, that she's trying so hard not to break down from all of the fear that she's going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think because of that, wouldn't you have, like, subscribed to the I'm going to pretend to be not scared kind of episode, where rather than just just straight up I'm afraid from the very beginning and everyone obviously knows it?
Well, I think the problem with trying to be brave in that facet is that Fluttershy she doesn't have the sense of pride that a character like Rainbow Dash does.
Oh yeah, I think that's something Rainbow Dash would totally do.
To try and hide it.
Mm.
Like, she's literally trying to be brave here, but she's failing miserably.
Yeah, I definitely see that. So overall, it's a good episode, and I'm glad to have watched it again. Oh, one more little side note. Did you notice how different some of the facial expressions in this one were?
Not really.
Like when Rarity is like shrugging about Pinkie Pie's rubber chicken,
Mm-hmm.
that looked different. Like that was like kind of like a different style than I've seen the faces in episodes before.
I don't know. Maybe they're getting better.
Yeah, so I'm not saying it's better or worse. It's just like, this is a slightly different style, essentially.
Trying some new stuff.
Yeah, good on DHX. Anyhow,
Yay.
So in the end, I would have to rate this maybe 7.5 dragons out of 10.
Okay.
I had some problems with the whole, I don't know, maybe like the interactions were maybe not as deep as I had liked. Character development was basically 2-note, and I mean, overall it was good, but there was some slight things that detracted from it, so it's not bad in the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so overall, it's a good one. Go back and watch it. I wouldn't say it was as impressive as Griffin the Brush Off, but it's definitely one to go back and reflect upon. So that has been our episode review of Dragonshy. So what's coming up next week?
Episode 8, right?
Episode 8. Are all
yeah,
8
it's Look Before You Sleep. Yeah, Rarity's in it. It's not a Rarity-centric episode.
The sleepover episode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I don't know, because okay, so that's the sleepover episode, and this is the first time I think we've gotten to see Rarity in her own episode, even though it's co-starring Applejack, really.
And kind of Twilight.
Yeah, I don't know. Here's the thing, though. I've heard a lot of people do not like this episode.
Yeah, I know them, and I can see why, but we'll look at it again.
I don't know. I really don't know why. I've seen people say outright that they don't like it, but I seriously do not know why. Like, maybe you would have a clue, as people have other people talk to you about why they do not like this one.
Yeah, and I can understand it.
So we'll talk about that next week.
We'll get on it next week.
Yeah, so this has been our review of Dragonshy. Thank you guys so much for listening. I'm GarudaPhoenix.
And I'm Radiant.
Goodbye.